Absolutely.
Just checking that we are live. Okay, cool. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. You are tuned into Nurse Charms Live. As you see, I have a guest with me tonight. I haven't been doing my show. It's been a while, just so much has been going on. I'm like, let me come live so, we could discuss it. I'm very opinionated. I'm never afraid to speak on whatever is on my mind. And that's why I'm so happy to introduce our guest, because he's the same way. He's very opinionated. He's very outspoken. He's very honest. Great guy. Wille Burton, police commissioner. Thank you so much for joining me. I just want to do a couple things. I always do this disclaimer, everyone joining me. My views are my own, so I'm not being endorsed by anybody. Whatever I say is just how I feel. Nobody's paying me anything. So I just put that out there that I'm not being endorsed. Other than that, make sure you all share this video, please. We're gonna have a great show. We're gonna be very candid. We're gonna be talking about a lot of issues basically that have to do with police reform, this defund the police movement, the protests that have been going on, the facial recognition technology. It's going to be a great show. So make sure you please share this video, hit like, hit share, and let's just get started. I always have my guests introduce themselves. I don't want to miss anything. You have a lot of great achievements going on. So just introduce yourself, and we'll get started from there.
Sure. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me on. And I'm Detroit Police Commissioner Wille Burton, represent the mighty 5th District. I was the youngest elected police commissioner when I first took office in 2014. I was actually elected in 2013. I wore out 3 pair of shoes, so I know the value of wearing out shoes going to the polls. But what's interesting, what brought me here, I was serving on a 2-year appointment by the Board of Education on their police and public safety oversight. And then the following year, the Detroit Board of Police Commissioners, I guess it was a charter language that changed, where it went from 5 commissioners to commissioners being elected by district. So I filed petitions. I ran for the 5th seat and for the 5th district. And I've been here 2 terms now. So I'm actually on my 7th year in my 2nd term. So we still have much work to do.
Yeah. So obviously campaigning, kudos to you. Anybody who can campaign and win, you're really doing your thing. The process is so competitive. There's layers and layers of things you have to do to basically, credential yourself to even be able to run. You can't just be like, oh, hey, I'll do it. Even though it is a, volunteer position, you still have to be elected. So just tell us what made you want to do this. It's a lot of work, I'm sure. Anytime you're getting elected, you're under scrutiny and stuff like that. So what made you want to put yourself out there, as a public figure and, run for the police commission?
In 1988 and 1989, there was a movie came out called Do the Right Thing, and it was by Spike Lee. And so, we talked about police reform, and so I wanted to make a difference right here in the Black and brown community. When young people come in contact with law enforcement, and law enforcement working in the Black and brown communities 24/7, it has to be a bridge of accountability. And so,
right.
I signed up to serve, and I really enjoy serving the citizens of Detroit. But more importantly, there was also Public Enemy, released a song, Sound of the Police. 27 years later, I think it was Tupac came out called Holla If You Hear Me. And the reason I'm throwing all this out is because we hear about the officer that had his knee on George Floyd's neck,
Yeah.
he's constantly said, I can't breathe. And so you're starting to hear this more and more today where folks are saying they can't breathe. And so, we have to have some really strong teeth when it comes to police policies. We have to have some strong teeth when it comes to police reform. But more importantly, we
Yeah.
have to include the citizens, here in America, especially here in the city of Detroit, because, the people have to have a seat at the table when it comes to discussions about what this reform will look like.
Right, absolutely. So, I mean, you're well known, but just for my viewing audience, let everybody know what specific role you serve on the, on the board. You just sitting in there, just talking, discussing, or like what's your accountability, to contribute value to the commission? What do you specifically do?
Well, I was talking to one of my colleagues the other day. They referred to me as the point guard, the person that brings information to the table. And so, but what we are responsible for rules, regulations, policies. We act as the final authority of disciplinary actions when officers commit wrongdoing. But more importantly, we are the bridge of accountability between the police department and its residents.
Right. So what are some of the challenges and roadblocks? I mean, we can't imagine that everything is just, all perfect and nice and smooth.
Can I yell it out? Transparency.
Hello, right. So talk about that. Get into it. Yeah.
So transparency is one of those issues, that, I've been bringing this up for quite some time. But more importantly, I had two fellow commissioners that was on during my first term, which was Commissioner Reggie Crawford, Commissioner Ricardo Moore, who also was raising the concerns about transparency. And I guess since they retired, left the police commission, and I guess I ran for re-election and stayed on. And now here it is, I'm raising the concern about transparency today. And so we have a lack of transparency, lack of oversight. Police commissioners are serving an appendage to the mayor and to the chief. The citizens say, we elected body. We want our commissioners to work for the people and not an appendage to the chief or to the mayor. So our office must remain independent. So we cannot be a rubber stamp leadership. And I think we see so much of this today when citizens say, we don't want facial recognition. And, you got 60 or 70 folks, timing into our meeting saying we don't want it. And the commissioners, the few commissioners, as far as those appointees, along with two elected commissioners, are all for this. So you got us looking like, hold on, what is really going on here? Are anybody really listening to the citizens as they speak up and say, we don't want facial recognition? And so I don't want to be the guy to be on a show and say, hey, I told you guys so, but hey, I would just say there was a year ago, it was July 11th. I said to Chairwoman Lisa Carter, I said, what you going to do differently as chairwoman that you didn't do before? And so she kind of tap danced with words, didn't really want to answer it. So I said, you know what? When it comes to facial recognition, we as a city cannot afford to misidentify a single person of color that don't have the resources for a good legal defense. What it does, it criminalizes those that wake up every day in poverty. And so we look up January, Robert Williams was misidentified by the same technology. I was going to say, wasn't there an incident?
Yeah.
Huh?
I was going to say, wasn't there an incident where that happened? Somebody got misidentified?
Exactly. Two people that we know of are Robert Williams and Michael Oliver. And so two of these Black men were misidentified by this technology. And so, from from a commission standpoint, we're responsible for rules and regulations. We are the administrative oversight of the Detroit Police Department, where City Council is the budgetary, in charge of budget when it comes to the city departments. But for me, raising my concerns a year ago, I was dragged to the floor, suffered a concussion, hogged off to jail in 2 sets of handcuffs, treated like a criminal, treated in an inhumane way. And my constituents, I wanted to say thank you all to the citizens of Detroit, also for those in District 5, and for all of those that stood by me and are still standing with us today in this fight. My colleagues stood up and said, "Let my commissioner go." And then, and so I would never forget it. Here it is, you get arrested for doing your job. And then a year later, you say, "Hey, when it comes to this facial recognition technology, I told you this day would come where folks will be misidentified." And so right now, my message to Chief Craig, my message to Mayor Duggan, my message to Detroit City Council, members on the Detroit Board of Police Commissioners, we have heard the citizens say time and time again that we do not want this techno-racism technology in our city. We want you to shut it down. We want to shut it down now.
Yeah. So is that what you mean when you say defund defund facial recognition? You want to get rid of it, or you just want? What do you mean?
Well, yes, we have to defund the police department's facial recognition. Number one, the Detroit Police Department secure funding, implemented a program, used it for nearly 2 years without even coming before the body. So we didn't even know that they were using facial recognition. The citizens didn't have a clue that this technology were being used in the first place. So so right now, looking at San Francisco being the first major city in this country to stand up and ban facial recognition, and looking at Oakland, California, and so forth, standing up to ban this technology, we here in the city of Detroit should be the last city that they want to use this racial technology. This technology is locking up those in the Black and brown communities. And so you saw Robert Williams. He served 30 hours in jail for what? Being Black?
Yeah.
30 hours in jail for what? Because the misidentification. What about those individuals that were brought up on DPD's facial recognition that have not even told their story? What about those individuals? What about those victims and those victims' families? I'm sure we're looking at Robert Williams. Now we just starting to learn about Michael Bolivar. I bet you that those two are not the only ones.
Right. So what are the risk benefits? Obviously they knew this technology was going to have, major flaws, but at the same time, they need some type of technology to help, capture criminals and stuff. I'm sure it has a lot of benefits, but, misidentifying somebody, definitely an inconvenience, and then, it could cause somebody to, do time or something like that. So, I don't where was it decided when it was like, okay, we'll do it, even though it has all, because I know this has been so much controversy. That's why a lot of states, they didn't go with it. So, I guess the question I'm trying to ask you is is the technology worth the risk of misidentifying somebody?
So, so I'm going to say
way
this.
to go about technology? Yeah. Go ahead.
This technology should be a technology they should not be using in the first place. It has not been properly vetted or tested in the Black and brown community. You're starting to see members of Congress standing up right now today saying that they don't, that we shouldn't be using it. I'm going to go back with, I believe it was Ice Cube and Dr. Dre once said something about endangered species. And that was a song. It might have been the name of the album too, and that was roughly 20 some years ago. And so right now, when you look at the Black or brown community being targeted by racist technology, locking up innocent Black males, I'm outraged. It's unacceptable. Yeah. The leadership, starts with the top, and we need transparency. We need the leadership in this city to work for the citizens of Detroit, not for any other interest, but to work for the behalf of the citizens of Detroit. And so when Detroiters say,
right,
we don't want I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Keep talking.
So, since then, you saw IBM, you saw Microsoft, and Amazon. They just pumped the brakes on law enforcement using their facial recognition. I asked my colleagues on the Detroit Board of Police Commissioners to exercise their fiduciary responsibility by doing the right thing, listen to the people's voices, and let's shut this technology down before it does any more harm in America's blackest and poorest city like Detroit.
J Love, hey lady, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. She says inconvenience, question mark. She says the facial recognition software is biased. They knew it and purchased it anyways. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. That's true. And then she says my misidentification is one of the number one reasons for wrongful incarceration. Yeah, J Love, I know you're going through some stuff right now, and I know you are fully against this acknowledged facial recognition technology. Let's see. Anthony just says hello.
I just want to say
thank you.
I want to say hello to Anthony, but also hello to J Love. J Love, you are a great activist. I love listening to you on 10 a.m. And we together in the community, we're going to keep up this fight and until we can shut down this racial technology.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Trevor is chiming in. Let me put his comment up here. He says, do we want to throw the technology out altogether? Do we want to wait until it's been more thoroughly tested and perfected? So what's your response to that?
Well, right at this point, looking at the misidentification of these two African-American men right here in the city of Detroit, and also looking at how facial recognition arrived here in the city without coming before the Detroit Board of Police Commissioners in a form of a recommendation. Remind you, they went ahead and just bypassed us, started using this program, using this technology. So therefore, we must shut it down. I even put different motions out there. I put motions out there to end DPD for use of facial recognition. I also put motions out there as far as tweaking my motion a little bit by calling for a 1-year moratorium on facial recognition, and both of those motions has failed. And so today at the Detroit Board of Police Commissioners, I was putting the facial recognition motion out there to shut it down, and Chairman Bell wouldn't allow me to get my motion off, but it was properly seconded by Commissioner Bill Davis out of District 7. And so I guess my next stage of this fight would be to take it up with the city of Detroit's Board of Ethics and also the city inspector general. So I will be filing paperwork with them this upcoming week because every time I put this motion out there, I'm getting shut down. Citizens is also getting shut down by getting their mics muted or doing public comment. So when I see citizens getting shut down and I'm getting shut down and I represent majority Detroit, it allows me no other no other thing to do but to file paperwork either with the city inspector general or attorney or the AG's office, Dan Anesso, or the Board of Ethics. So I will be filing
That's
complaints.
flat out disrespectful, though. Like, why is your mic getting shut down? Like, that's first off, that's ghetto. It's tacky. I mean, like, how does that work? That's unprofessional. You in a meeting, you have a right. Everybody has a right to voice their opinion, whether it's indifferent than the rest of the group. How can you just get your mic shut off because they don't agree? Oh, that's enough. Okay, let's keep it moving. Like, that's just so tacky to me. Like, what type of culture allows that? Like, I don't understand that. Like, I've been in tons and tons of meetings. I used to work for the Detroit Medical Center, had all types of administrative positions. That type of behavior doesn't happen. And here this is the city. You know what I'm saying? This is and you have people representing and you're getting your mic shut off. Like, that's ghetto, that's tacky. I really don't understand that. So tell me why that type of culture is being allowed.
Well, it's sad when it happens. It's been happening to me for some time. But when they shut me down, they are shutting down the 100,000 families that live in the 5th District. They are shutting down majority Detroit, the 700,000 residents in the city of Detroit. They are shutting down free speech. Once again, I'm a big boy. So, I'm going to continue to fight for the people, and I'm no pushover. We're going to win. We, the people, will win this battle one way or another. When we're talking about fighting for transparency, for greater transparency, when we're talking about fighting to end this racist technology, facial recognition, when we're talking about fighting against racism and prejudice within the police department alone, we, the people, will win this battle sooner or later. Trust me. Right now, I just have not filed anything with the City Inspector General's office or the Attorney General Dan Anesso's office or the Board of Ethics, but paperwork is coming. I will be submitting my paperwork shortly. And when I speak for the majority of Detroit that wake up every damn day in poverty. I speak for the people.
Yeah, J Love, she says innocent people shouldn't go to jail because of flawed technology. That is very true. But okay, so back to like when we just talk about the culture, because like you're getting shut down. So obviously people aren't agreeing. And then how everything is just so, cliquish and stuff. Like, okay, if these people don't agree with you, they're going to go over here and tell these people he's trying to shut this down, don't agree. So like even as you go up the chain, it's like you feel like you're getting blackballed, even though you're going through the right process, because everybody's just so, like, just stop this person. You know what I'm saying? Let them go up the chain, but nothing's still not going to happen because the people at the top don't want it anyway. And the people at the top are, they're friends, they're connected. So they're going to make sure, like, you get what I'm kind of saying, like the whole politics of the movement. And it's almost frustrating because it's like you're trying to get work done, but you can't because you got, the roadblocks. You know what I'm saying? You got the people like, it's not going down. There's people over here like, no, we want to make a change. We want to make this right. Like, okay, it's cool to have the technology, but let's just get it right. Let's not put this technology out here and it's misidentifying people. Like, what good does that do? Let's get it right or don't do it at all.
Exactly. And when the technology misidentified Robert Williams, I mean, how come the police department didn't come before the police commissioners and say, hey, this is what happened or this is what occurred with facial recognition? We didn't even know. We didn't find out until this literally made it on the 10, 11 o'clock news. And it was just recently. And this occurred once again in January. So we just not finding out about this, just more recently. Like and so transparency is a big part of it's a big growing problem right here in the city of Detroit as far as transparency. I believe when Dan Anesso, when she first took office, I want to quote her right. I think she said Michigan ranks dead last in transparency. And so I cannot agree with her more because I see it firsthand right here in the city of Detroit. We just got a new commissioner by the name of Mark Jones. His first day in office, he voted against facial rec. He voted against me on everything. I put a motion out there to ban facial recognition. He went the opposite. he supported it. And you have me, Bill Davis, Commissioner Davis, and Commissioner Darrell Brown. We all, voted against the facial recognition. But when it first misidentified people, you would imagine that DPD would have pulled the plug on it. You would imagine that someone on the police board of commissioners, other than just myself and Darrell Brown and Bill Davis, those are the two great commissioners, would have spoke up and said, hey, we got a problem with this technology. Let's pull the plug. But once again, the lack of transparency, the way the technology arrived to Detroit, we didn't know about it. We didn't even know about the conversations that we're having with city council when they approved the $1 million funding for this racist technology right here in the city of Detroit. So, city council needs to be held accountable as well for bringing this racial technology right here in our city.
Yeah, J Love, she says the criminal justice system in Detroit needs implicit bias training the governor was talking about. That is true. I thought they're not getting implicit bias training. Are they?
They need, when it comes to their training, they actually need a step, another step, a layer within their training. You got officers out there, doing their job. But if you can't hold the supervisors accountable for what goes on out in the field, then you really have a problem. So once again, transparency is the key. When commissioners raise questions about, show us the real numbers. When we talk about shooting is up in the city of Detroit, non-fatal shootings and criminal homicides are up, you really got to look at the numbers. Looking at the disparity of numbers, I believe the FBI crime data statistics said Detroit was the most violent, dangerous big city in America. And then you also look at MSP, Michigan State Police report numbers as far as crime data for Detroit, along with the FBI crime data statistics. One year there was a computer glitch. And so when you see stuff like that, you're wondering, where is the transparency? Why there was a computer glitch? What are the real numbers? MSP report different set of numbers from FBI crime data statistics pertaining to Detroit along with Detroit Police Department's numbers. So two entities' numbers are reported a lot higher than what DPD is throwing out there. So right now, what are the real numbers when we talk about non-fatal shootings, criminal homicides? We see shooting is up, crime is up, but right now, we really have to focus on defunding the police department's facial recognition. We got to also pull the Detroit Police Department from participating in the 1033 program with the Department of Defense. Let's put those dollars back into the community to help families that waking up every damn day in poverty. Let's fix the poverty issue here, because Detroit's poverty rate is growing. Crime is growing. But what is the real solutions? We talk about mental health. We saw where a corporate officer punched a woman in Receiving Hospital. She needed a treatment, Corporate Officer Dwayne Jones. She did not need a beating by Detroit Police Department. Instead, she needed treatment. And so, so mental health training, is something that we got to ensure that every officer has training in that area, but also continuing training each year. But we also got to figure out a way to train the community that has zero training when it comes to crisis intervention. I think that will be another step that we can also see and when we talk about police reform.
Okay, so we hear that there's racism in the police, the officer squad. We hear that there's a lot of racism going on, and like solving the issue of racism. I mean, at any corporation, on that level, it's a large project. It can't just be like okay, we're gonna end racism. I mean, it's systematic. You know what I'm saying? Like, what type of preventions, I guess, like what suggestions is the committee to implicit bias, I guess, But I mean, what are you guys doing to, what would be like a first step that you guys are taking to make sure that, there's implicit bias training and these people who are racist, they're being weeded out somehow or not being hired? Like, I don't know. I guess how are they even coming in the first place? I guess you can't really tell on an interview if somebody's racist or not, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Get rid of race. Yeah.
Those are some really good concerns. Those are some really good concerns. I really thank you and applaud you for bringing that up. I think we really got to focus on far as working closely with those supervisors within the department structure to be able to report, any type of complaints when it comes to racism or prejudice or whatever, to come forth with that information. There were a program some years ago, CORE, which was made up of officers where they can actually talk with their superior officer or whatnot. And I can't think of how many people made up that body for CORE. I'm not sure, was it 5 or 7, but it was a handful of people that made up CORE. And but not sure what phases CORE is in right now to this day, but we definitely got to look into this matter and try and stop the spread from precinct to precinct. We shouldn't have this in any department or precinct, not here or anywhere in America for that case. But we do have some challenges and some issues that's been reported out about different levels of racism. I want to say that Chief Craig was doing something or implementing something as far as working on working with those supervisors, to reduce the lack of the reduced prejudice or racism within the department. But I haven't had anything in my folder or my package lately about an update on that. But I will bring that up at our next meeting, because you raised a good point. We need to know what's going on with that.
Eliminate racism. Let me hop over here to the comments.
Before you move on to the next comment, do you remember there was I think it was maybe a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, there was an officer where he went on Facebook or social media and referred to an African American woman that was in the wintertime, made her get out and walk and call her black magic.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, stuff like that shouldn't be happening. Yeah, that people like that should automatically get fired. Like, not even any questions asked. They don't have that type of culture. You got to go through the union stuff, and then you still get suspended with pay. It's just ridiculous. Like, seriously, like, we're gonna let an officer make these racist remarks and keep it. Like, what value is he bringing? What value is a racist police officer bringing to the department? Get rid of them. I really don't understand it, but
I agree with you. We got to get rid of them. We cannot suspend them with pay. Not when they're making racial accusations pertaining to
give them a second chance and all of this stuff. Yeah, crazy.
We don't want racism in our community.
Right. Levan says, ask him what would he do if he was bit and spit on. You want to answer that?
Say that again, please. Oh, pertaining to
I guess if he was Levan, give us some more information. If you're still on this thread, are you talking about a civilian getting bit and spit on by the police, or you mean being a police officer?
I think he's referring to maybe Corporal Officer Dwayne Jones. Once again, I think he's referring to that where apparently, I think there were some comments made that that corporate officer Dwayne Jones was allegedly spit on or bit or whatever. Pertaining to the video that I saw and my colleagues saw, we did not witness any of that. But it does not give our officer the right to put the hands on a woman for us beating down a woman that needed treatment. That's totally unacceptable. And we as the board,
oh, wait a minute,
police commissioners, we should have called.
What would you do? He's clarifying. He said, what would you do if you were bit and spit on?
Well, let's ask him, what would he do?
What would you do, Levan?
Yeah, Levan, what would you do?
He asked a question. Oh, this is good. I was going to ask you that. Good. You took the words out of my mouth. What is your stance on police residency? I can't remember the percentage. I'm sure you know. But what is the percentage of officers that live in Detroit versus who don't live in Detroit? And like, shouldn't there be something done about that? Shouldn't officers live in the city that they serve the people,
Sure. Let me answer that, but I want to go to Levan real quick. Levan, I would just walk away. I would not put myself in a situation where someone was literally spit on me or whatever. I would literally just walk away and just avoid that entirely. But back to, should officers live in the city of Detroit for us residency? I believe officers should live in the neighborhoods. They should live in the city that they serve in. When you have that police visibility, that presence, you do normally would see crime start spiraling down in certain areas, but having officers live outside the city, it's not a good look, from the city of Detroit standpoint. So we as the people gotta fight harder to bring back residency, because you look at this tax base, 2,400 officers, 85% of our officers live outside the city of Detroit. And so you look at, we have 85%. We have 1,900, and I can't think of the little numbers or whatever, but it's 1,900 and some officers live outside the city of Detroit. It's 85% of our officers.
Oh, Levan, I'm sorry I pronounced your name wrong. Please forgive me, because Lord knows I don't want anybody pronouncing my name wrong either.
Forgive me too, Levan.
I stand corrected. So yeah, we're talking about the police officers, having a relationship with the community. What is the relationship? You hear Chief Craig, praising the officers and saying that they have a great relationship with the community, but then I also hear people talk like they're afraid of the police. They don't want to get shot, they don't want to get beat up. So like, what is your perception of the relationship with DPD and the community? Is there mutual respect? Do they know that they got their back, or do they kind of feel threatened? Like, what's it like? What vibes do you see?
I would say that many of our officers do have a relationship with the community, especially those that attend those community relations meetings each month. I'm not sure how that's working now due to COVID, but a lot of our officers do have a relationship with members of the community, especially our neighborhood police officers. But then you also have just as many officers that don't have a relationship with our community whatsoever. And I think we have to do a better job when we are talking about police recruitment, as far as hiring new officers,
yes.
And bringing them into the city of Detroit. Because when we bring these new recruits in, we pay them for 5.5 months of training, then a lot of them bounce and go to another city. And then the ones that stick around, usually don't live in the city of Detroit whatsoever. So they're not all going to have the same love, respect for our residents as we do. So bringing back residency, um, I totally support it 110% because that's what we need in order to build trust between the community and law enforcement officers. But outside
Right.
of those officers that work neighborhood police officer NPOs or some of the officers that's within the precinct, um, it's a handful of our officers that have a relationship. But once again, we have so many more officers that don't have a relationship with our residents, and so we gotta
Um,
do better. Um, and and to build that bridge. But when you see a woman by the name of Nikita Wallace that were
oh yeah,
placed
what
in a
was she gonna get
chokehold,
put in the
it makes
yeah,
it
in the
it makes it
chokehold?
it makes it hard for me as a commissioner to ensure trust when you see an officer placing a black woman from our community in a chokehold. It makes it really hard for us elected officials to really do our job when it comes to bringing law enforcement and the community together. So we really gotta look at
Right.
policy
What incentive?
and, and put some teeth in that policy. Pardon me?
What incentive would you recommend for those officers to stay in the city? We're talking about if you I see some people are just jumping in here. So we were just having a conversation. He mentioned 85% of the DPD force is 1,000 and something, 1,000 plus. And out of 1,000 plus, 85% live outside the city, which is fascinating. It's like, wow, like, well, who lives in the city if that's the case? So,
Yes.
Levan's question is, what incentive would you recommend for those officers to stay in the city?
Well, it's really hard to talk about different incentives at this point. Without acknowledging our retirees who lost everything. They were made promises when they first came onto the force, or when they were
Uh-huh.
18, 19, or 21 years of age, and they worked 20 and 30 years, and they lost everything. So, but we're talking about we just recently got out of bankruptcy. And that
Oh
wasn't that
yes,
long
so
ago. And so,
yeah. So it's really your hands are tied at this time. Yeah,
it's really hard to
yeah,
talk
I get it.
to talk about incentives, but you know, we should have officers want to have the love to say, "Hey, I'm a Detroiter. I want to do what I can to ensure public safety for residents to feel safe at night. Sign me up. I want to do all I can be to help patrol or police our community." We want to see officers like that, not only from the city of
Right,
Detroit, but actually feel like they got this burning feeling inside that, hey, you know what? Sign me up. I want to be all I can be on the Detroit Police Department, or I want to be all I can be working for the city of Detroit. I like to see that attitude. I like to see officers come in with that attitude and that passion, that drive, because that's the person
right,
that actually have passion at what they believe in. They're not just here for a paycheck. They're here because they want to be, and it's a passion. And so when a guy goes to work, or a woman on a department goes to work, and they have that passion and they have that drive, they usually the ones that excel. They usually are the ones that gets the tap on the shoulder for our promotions, over time. And those are the ones that
right.
usually do well when it comes to their training. And so, where's those guys at? I encourage them to sign up and join the next class. And
Yeah, gotta get on the recruitment. Yeah, gotta do something. I see they're putting up some sponsor ads on Facebook, so hopefully they'll get
sure.
some quality candidates in. Listen, Chef says all he sees is young white police officers in Detroit. Would you happen to know the demographics, like how many African Americans versus white, Indian, whatever else? Do you know the demographics?
It's good you brought that up because I actually have that stats too. I just don't
Oh,
have
you
it in
do?
front of me at this time, but I do have
Okay.
it. I will make sure that you have it, and then
Okay.
you could report out later on it or whatever. But I'll make sure you have that. I promise. Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. Trevor, he says, do you feel that having officers living in the city puts them at a risk for retaliation, intimidation from alleged criminals whom they've arrested? Oh, that's a good point. Is there a reason why people don't want to live in the city that they work, because they don't want, any victims or whatever coming back and retaliating? Is that the strategy people use?
I, I disagree. We have judges who live right here in the city of Detroit, and they got to get up and go to work every day. They go to the same stores, same markets, like any one of us elected officials have to do. And so I totally disagree. I think when you live in the city of Detroit that you work in, I think that's a really good look. And I think every city employee or city worker ought to live in a city um, that they work in. And I think this whole residency thing, I think it changed. I want to say maybe around 1997 under Mayor Dennis Archer leadership. But we need to focus on uh, bringing residency back because it should have never left in the first
Yeah.
place.
Let's see. Levan, he
And
says
whoever had the
it's
question
pension.
about the census, I guess I guess something about education. I think education is always a great component. Whether the department is providing additional training for young officers, but I think the city of Detroit could look at that for not only our officers but also our fire and MT. To allow them
Right.
to have some continuing training or whatever, whether it's through WC3 or Wayne State University. I don't think it should stop at WC3. I know that with our officers, they get some type of tuition reimbursement, but they should be able to go to Wayne State University as well. And I think when you offer education as a incentive, I think that would be a great reward overall, and it would actually help the city overall and minimize the city's litigations, complaints, especially when you look at use of force. And so when officers are getting trained more and they taking other professional courses, or
Right.
and you open that up to other city departments and stuff like that, I think that will be a good look going forward in the long run.
Levan says his pension got 14 years, and he says he still stays in the city and has 20 years on. We are the forgotten ones. Why does he feel forgotten? What?
We have a commissioner by the name of William Davis out of District 7. He serves on the retiree board. I know he's working really hard as far as working to try and get some things restored for the retirees. One of the things I like to do personally, I like to sit down and have some roundtable discussions. Maybe I don't know. Right now we're doing the 6 feet rule, but I would like to have some different meetings where we can talk about helping the retirees. And I think knowing that the city had a surplus this past year, we got to be able to figure out a way to give our retirees back some of the things that they lost. And so I commend our good brother here that still live in the city, and I just want you to know that, some of us is really fighting the fight for the people. I know Bill Davis out of District 7 is definitely is one of those guys that's really working to try and restore some things for retirees. Bill Davis can be reached at the Detroit Board of Police Commissioner's office along with myself. The number over to the Detroit Board of Police Commissioner's office is 313-596-1830. And, please reach out to the board. You can reach out to Commissioner Davis or myself. And we'd love to hear from the residents and how we can work together and making a difference.
Yes. I was gonna get through a few more of these comments. Trevor, he says he thinks it's a good idea to have civil servants live in the community they serve, but not sure about the practicality. And also, before you respond, it looks like, because a couple people kind of have the same response to that topic. Dr. Lee says, as a psychologist, she says she wouldn't want to live next door to someone she testified against. So it seems like some of the people on the thread kind of has some mixed opinions. One more, Tyrese says, I don't think they should be required to live there. So he's opposing people. He's opposing officers living in their policing district. He says, I don't think they should be required to live there. I think, yes, it puts them at risk, maybe not of being killed, but definitely harassed. So we kind of got some mixed opinions here. I know you personally said that they should live there. I feel like they should, and a few people on our thread feel like they shouldn't. So you want to kind of chime in on some of these mixed opinions?
You know what, Nurse Charm? What I love about being on the show this evening is that we can agree and we can disagree. But guess what? That's Detroit love. We can agree and disagree. Yeah. And so I'm excited about being on here. And even with the members of our audience that may disagree, I support your belief. I just feel like looking at some data, and I saw this a little while ago, and I wish I had the stats on this too, because if you look at what the crime rate is today versus what the crime rate was when we had residency, that would be something really interesting to see. And so I would like to have that. I would like to look at that data and have that next time, if I'm invited back on or whatever. And I would like to have that, because that would be a good thing to look at. But you know what though? When officers lived, when they lived in the neighborhoods, officers, you talk to these old school officers talking about that that's probably been gone from the department for about 15, 20 years. They would tell you that they used to have their own communities, and there was not much crime happening in their neighborhood. It was not much crime happening on that block. When someone know that, hey, it's an officer live on my block, they can pick up the phone and call that officer. Right. And so I like that. And one of the things that I like to say about former chief, he's now the Wayne County Sheriff, Benny Napoleon. One of the things that he has done for years, and I remember hearing him say this when he was running for mayor. He was actually running for mayor in the city of Detroit when he said this. It was part of his campaign speech. But he said one of the things he had done for years was that he was the cop for that 1 mile radius in his community. And then later on, I think maybe a year, 2 years later, or maybe later that year, we end up seeing something called neighborhood police officers right here today, which is the NPO, something we didn't have before. But I remember hearing Benny Napoleon once said he was that officer for that 1 square mile radius. And so if we have officers living in our neighborhood, guess what? You'll be that cop for that 1 block, that 1 mile radius. People gonna come to you and say, hey, I have a concern. And you wouldn't mind taking their concern, whether you're on clock or off the clock, because guess what? You have an investment in the city of Detroit. You're a homeowner. Not only that, you love your job. You have passion of what you're doing, ensuring that citizens feel safe. Just a week ago, you saw in the news, it was on Fox 2 News, where our armed man was armed with a gun at a homeowner's doorstep, and it took police over 30 minutes to arrive. We cannot have that here in the city of Detroit,
Yeah, that's too
because
long.
when citizens wait too long, that could make all the difference in the
Fatal.
world, whether someone lives or whether someone dies. And so we need to work on faster police response times. The national average right now is 7.5 minutes. 30 minutes is 30 minutes too long. We need officers to be able to come faster, and we need transparency. We can't have, this went wrong or that went wrong. Those are excuses when it comes to citizens. Citizens say, I dial 911, I was put on hold. I dial 911, I was redirected to a non-emergency number. So these are too many different numbers for people to remember. Only number that comes to mind in emergency is 911, and that's the number that they're gonna call when they feel like
and they want somebody like this, like boom. Yep. And yeah, J Love. So she agrees. She says that when officers don't have relationship with the community they serve, they tend to have a disconnect with the people. That's true. Listen, I want to ask you about the protests. They've been protests. I think it might be up to 60 days by now. What are your thoughts on the protests? Like, should they continue? I mean, I know they have freedom of speech. So when I say should they continue, I mean, I know it's their right. But I guess I'm saying, like, is anything being done? Like, I know I did hear that one of the lead organizers say that they sat down and, had a meeting with Mayor Duggan and Chief Craig, but they felt like nothing got resolved. So I guess I'm just saying, like, okay, so do we just keep doing this for the rest of our lives? Like, like, when are we ever gonna, come to a battleground? Like, I really don't, like, where is it going? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I was actually part of that meeting. I was there more so. I was there more so observing, and but I can say that I can say that the mayor and the deputy mayor did listen to Tristan Taylor's concerns. A lot of the concerns that I guess Tristan Taylor had were something that I think he said something about evictions. Well, the mayor doesn't have any power control over evictions. The second thing was on there was something about in cash bail, and that's another item that the mayor or the chief doesn't have control over the cash bail system. And so Tristan Taylor and some of the other different groups will have to be able to come together and rethink their strategy prior going back to the table and talking about some things that they like to see when it comes to police reform. And I think when you have in evictions or in water shutoffs or talking about in cash bail, all of those matters are very important when you're talking about the Black and brown community. But you have to have a strategy and you have to stick to something. And I think what brought all these groups together was what happened in Minneapolis with George Floyd. And so everyone is coming together on police reform. So I think if the questions are related to police reform, I think that's something that the mayor and the chief would like to listen to, because right now it is a big concern when we're talking about police reform. But we also have to ensure that there is transparency, and so it goes back to transparency. Not only you hear the people's concerns and you do absolutely nothing, you have to act on the people's concerns and show the citizens, show the people that you're working on their behalf, because end of the day, we are playing with people's lives, and I think the citizens have a right to say what they like to see when it comes to police response times and when it comes to police reform, and what that police reform wants to look like.
Let me ask ask you something about those protests, because I'm hearing that they got hijacked. You know, people are saying, well, it's mostly white people. It's like, you know, 90% white people. I mean, does it really matter if it's white people and, you know, the, you know, Caucasians are being their allies? Does that really matter? It seems like that's a, you know, it's a big complaint. Like, why is there so many, you know, white people out there and it got hijacked? It's not about George Floyd anymore. Now it's about, you know, all these different demands and stuff, and, you know, defund the police, and, you know, all these things. They want Chief Craig to be fired. I think they want Mayor Duggan to be fired. I mean, like, it's a different movement now. What's your opinion on that as well?
Once again, I think when it comes to police reform, I think when you have different messages coming together, I think it's a distraction of what really needs to be said. And I think police reform is something that everyone should be opening up their books, pulling out a pen and a journal, taking notes, because this is very crucial and serious times that we're living in today. You know, and so we don't want to see what happened in Minneapolis happen here in the city of Detroit. Once again, in Minneapolis, a black man had a knee on his neck. Here in the city of Detroit, a black woman was placed in a chokehold. And so when citizens say out loud, we want to ban the chokehold, I think, you know, this is something that we need to see in our police reform.
Aren't already banned though? I thought they were already banned in PD.
Well, you know, you're looking at the police department's use of force. You know, they shouldn't be using chokeholds, but if an officer feels like his life or her life is in danger, they can use chokeholds. You know, but in this situation with Keita Wallace, she didn't endanger the life of an officer or did anything where an officer needed to place her under a chokehold. It was totally unacceptable. I am still outraged as I saw that video surface on the internet, and I literally, as a commissioner, I called for the video of you know, the chokehold that Keita Wallace was placed under, a chokehold. I'll call for the video. I'm still calling for the video, and I'm still waiting because she has a right to exercise her constitutional right, which is freedom of speech. And so now we're starting to see across the country where they're trying to shut down free speech, and that's not acceptable. Not here, not never.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because, you know, with all this stuff going on with COVID, and, you know, I've been reporting on that since it began. And, you know, they're trying to censoring on social media platforms. They're trying to censor all the doctors who are speaking out about, you know, the therapeutics and treatments and stuff. And, you know, like you said, with this whole, you know, protest movement and stuff, they trying to censor out different parts of that too. So yeah, like we all have, every American has the right to free speech. We should never be censored. I don't care who disagrees, you know, like our censorship should not be taken away. So I'm definitely not with that. Listen, we have run out of time. We definitely gonna have to do this again. Leave everyone with some final words. Go ahead.
Sure. Final words would be, you know, for those listening to the audience, we encourage you to exercise your constitutional rights, freedom of speech. Do not let someone shut down your constitutional rights. Someone paid the ultimate price for us to have the freedoms and liberties that we have today. So I say stand up for what you believe in, stand up for your rights, continue to be vocal, and also continue to attend the city council meetings, the Detroit Board of Police Commissioners meetings, because your input matters to us.
Yeah. When are your meetings? So it's open? Oh, no, it's they can zoom in, right? People can just do you have to have a reservation? How does that work?
No reservation. So you can tune in every Thursday at 3:00. go to the City of Detroit's website, detroitmi.gov. Go to the Detroit Board of Police Commissioners page, and then click the Zoom button, and then we will welcome you into our meeting. Our meetings are
Oh,
open to the
okay.
public. Your concerns matters once again to us. I look forward to working with, continue to work with everyone in the community, and any concerns you have, please call the commissioner's office at 313-596-1830. Please, attend the Board of Police Commissioners Zoom meetings on Thursdays. I just want to say thank you to the community, and also thank you, Nurse Charm, because giving us the opportunity to speak out today. And I have been following you as far as the whole COVID thing, and so I actually learned how to protect myself from COVID,
Thank
thanks
you.
to you.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you more. All right. Well, good night, everyone. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. Share this video. If you have any questions, reach out to Wille Burton. Please follow him on his social media. Are you on Twitter also? Are you on Instagram too?
Yes, I'm on IG.
Huh?
I'm on IG as the Commissioner Burton 313 or something like that. I believe it is.
Okay.
Twitter is
Okay.
313 Wille Burton on Twitter.
Okay, cool. Yes, follow him on all social media platforms. Look him up. Google him. I Google him. That's how I got all your bio and stuff. I'm like, he's too popular. I'm sure I could Google him. Yeah, so I found out everything I needed to know. So yeah, you have a great rest of the evening. Listen, everybody. I'm gonna shout out my girl Charlene Mitchell. I'm getting ready to go on her show shortly after I end this broadcast. Make sure you all tune in to Charlene Mitchell. She's on right now, radio host at 9:10 a.m., 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. I'll be on her show. We'll be talking about COVID. I'll be giving my updates. But yeah, I'm not sure when I'm going to have another Nurse Charms live because, I was doing it regularly and then, things are coming up. So I'm like, let me get my show back started. But hopefully, I'll start doing this regularly again. I really love everyone, engaging, asking questions. So I'll be having more guests. I'll definitely bring Commissioner Burton back. And yeah, that's about it for tonight. So have a good evening, everyone. And I will talk with you soon, Commissioner Burton. Good night, everybody.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Trying to end this.